What up, TikTok? Hey, hope everybody's having a great Friday. Hey, don't let anything that's negative in your life dictate the rest of your life. Does that make sense? Hey, we all go through some hard times. We all go through some emotional stressors, maybe at work, maybe at home, whatever it may be. Don't let that dictate who you are and how you react to the rest of the things that life throws at you. Does that make sense? Like if you're feeling pissed off and angry all morning or all day, you're going to take that energy and you're going to present it to everybody else that surrounds you, your loved ones, your soldiers, whoever it may be. You're going to use that negative energy and it's just going to make everything worse. Try to be positive. Pick something positive in life that's going really well. Use that positive energy and let that dictate the rest of your day. We can harp on the negatives. We can harp on the bad things that are going on in life. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help us move forward. Stay strong, keep pushing, drive on. Happy Friday.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Hitting you up this morning with a special promo on how to dress when you are doing PT in civilians, but you want everybody to know you're an Army. This comes from the Buddy Beckwith fashion design of how to work out. So first, you can notice the RI panties. Not Ranger panties, but Ranger Instructor panties. The green socks, the knee brace for the old guys. Don't forget the M frames. Now the shirt, don't wear the Trash Talk shirt while you're running. This is just for the promo. You want to put on like an 80-second shirt or like your favorite airborne shirt so everybody knows that you're a veteran. That's the most important thing. And you start with this stretch. Buddy Beckwith taught me this one. Ready to go.
So, I'm walking out of the gas station and my co-worker, who's an old MP, but we still claim him, and has engaged the man in conversation. Not much for conversation with strangers, but he's got the tab. So, as I walk by, I say airborne, and the man responds with, and I quote, "Hoorah." So, after I instructed my co-worker to slash every single tire before he put the car in gear, I looked for the biggest rock. As I crow hopped to throw it through his back window so he can stop posing as one of us, I actually wake up and realize that the man's ignorance had incapacitated me for a moment, and I was daydreaming. I mean, because in that moment you got two options. I chose the third option and said, "Incorrect. That's an incorrect response." And I kept walking. The man said nothing and he pulled away. So you tell me, what is it, a stolen valor thing? No Marine's gonna have an airborne tab, and no paratrooper's gonna say an hoorah. So you tell me, stolen valor?
Hey, y'all, going to work. I left you a note on the refrigerator. I love y'all. I'm gonna go.
Hey, go get dressed. Get ready for school.
You're doing great. We're just tooling around, tooling along. Shit! Bad guys! Stop!
Let me break it down Barney style.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, Joe, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
Today's show is brought to you by the Farkas Group at the Veterans Mortgage Source. Are you looking for a team you can trust for your mortgage needs? The Farkas Group is our trusted partner on the podcast. I served with Zach, and he will definitely give you the best rate possible. Their goal is to educate veterans across the country on their earned VA home loan benefit. If you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, reach out to these guys for competitive rates or any information you may need on obtaining a VA mortgage for your property. They are licensed in multiple states. If they are not licensed in the state that you live in, they will still give you the advice that you need and the rates you should be looking for.
What is up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Welcome to episode 85 of the Trash Talk Hour. Shout out to our sponsors, Zach Farkas with the Veterans Mortgage Source. You
Never
can check
heard of
them out at Zach Farkas at vmsloans.com. 10th Mountain Whiskey, check them out at 10thwhiskey.com. Type in VTT and get a discount. Special guest today is author and leadership coach Laura Colbert. And today I'm joined by Nick, Len, and Joe. Happy Saturday. So we are going to kickstart this dumpster fire as always with another conspiracy theory, okay? And I picked Admiral Byrd, okay? He was a part of Operation High Jump. Chris, did you put that photo up? Yeah. Damn, Chris, hurry up. The baker taking his time, okay? So Operation High Jump occurred in 1947, okay? The Navy went out there amongst a bunch of Army soldiers as well, Air Force. They went out to Antarctica to explore. And during the exploration, Admiral Byrd got onto one of his planes out there and flew into Antarctica, all right, facing north, just kind of flew in because they couldn't get past the ice, you know, and all that good stuff. And about 100 miles, you know, 200-300 miles in, he suddenly comes up on mountains, okay, and forests and rivers. And apparently the lighting is completely different. And he can't even see, he can't even see the sun anymore, okay? The sun suddenly disappears. And then apparently he spots a mammoth, okay, and all kinds of crazy shit. Apparently there were giants walking around. And then he sees a city and loses all control over his aircraft. And a voice comes in over the radio and says, hey, you know, your aircraft is safe. We're going to land you right now. So the aircraft lands and he's approached by these Nordic looking individuals, okay, basically aliens. And they tell him that, you know, Earth is in great danger, Hiroshima, things of that nature, nuclear weapons. This is all the stuff we shouldn't be using. They have this long conversation with him on how he needs to go back and send a message that, you know, Earth is going to be gone if we keep this shit up, all right, with all these wars and everything.
This is Al Gore?
This is Admiral Byrd, okay?
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
he flies back. He flies back, obviously, tells everybody what occurred, okay? And then he's told to keep his mouth shut and dies, okay? And then his son found his diary, which he published, which was everything that I just talked about, okay? All the stuff that occurs in Antarctica. A couple fun notes. Antarctica Treaty since 1959. Okay, so Antarctica isn't owned by anybody. It's actually owned by 12 nations.
It's owned by us. Okay.
Yeah. No. You can Google this up.
You
okay.
can,
Be your time. You're gonna get your minute, Nick. All right.
No.
Antarctica is twice the size
America
of Australia.
owns everything.
Okay. Apparently there are 200 lakes beneath the ice. Okay. The fifth largest lake is actually in Antarctica. All right. It's Lake Vostok. And that's a couple thousand feet deep. So there's all kinds of crazy unexplored places there. The Russians were really interested in it back then. The Nazis supposedly as well. They went out there with submarines and tested some nuclear weapons or some sort of weaponry out there. So there's all kinds of stuff around Antarctica. Personally, I think there definitely is something going on. I think the General Byrd story maybe is a little too far-fetched. But, I mean, you can't travel there. You're not allowed to fly over it. You know, you can't just book a ticket and say, I'm flying to Antarctica today to check it out. All right. So there's definitely some stuff going on. But yeah, what's everybody's take? Nick?
Oh, I get to go first. Well, I already got holes in your story from just the picture that you showed on the thing is the missing diary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then how does he have it if it's the missing diary?
Well,
wouldn't it just be the diary? Because it's not missing anymore. So there's number one. That's bullshit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's what everybody knows that like I'm a hilarious guy. I think about a lot of stupid shit. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I put it. Sometimes I was class cloud 1999. It's
that is
voted
true.
on,
that
voted
is,
on
that
by
is
my
true.
peers. Right. So it's primary source. Now, if I was to write down all the dumb shit that I think about,
mm-hmm.
right now, imagine I actually went and stayed solitude in Antarctica for 2 years and wrote shit down. I'm going to come up with some pretty crazy shit, right? Because nobody's going to be able to call me out on it. Nobody's going to be able to even say yes or no to it, except for logical people. All right. And logical people say that this guy's full of shit. No, it didn't happen. It didn't go. Who's next?
He's full of shit.
He's full of shit.
I mean, the operation happened. Like, they went there to do whatever.
They didn't find Narnia.
What question?
Right?
Okay, that's the question. Did all that other crazy shit happen?
No,
they definitely went out there.
Just some crazy guy writing in a journal, right?
Okay.
Like if like I said, if I actually decided to write my thoughts down, Jesus. So,
okay. All right. So no, you get. Well, I guess Len, we could pass it over to you. So what do you think occurred there, if anything?
And this is an actual sailor.
Again? Supposedly, what year?
1947.
That was my
Operation High
first question.
Jumps.
So 10 years later, satellites were invented in 1957. So we have satellites, right? How come the satellites didn't pick up all these fucking Narnia-looking things, trees and all of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we had satellites, 10 years is not a huge jump difference. You can't tell me that in 10 years, everything froze over right away. So what happened then? So right then and
But
there,
I don't think, and this is where I come into it, where I don't believe that this Narnia and all that, but I do think that there is some crazy shit out there. Like now they talk about that there are pyramids out there that they found, and you can research this that have been picked up by the satellites you speak of. But like, how the fuck do pyramids end up in Antarctica? So I think there's a lot going on there. We just don't know what.
I can believe that it's all iced over and that it's from an ancient civilization, but I don't believe that there is a forest like green and lush and all that. I think it was a dream. I think he was on drugs. Like what was
I mean, he's a very decorated admiral, like
in the 40s, didn't they?
What admiral's not decorated?
They did meth in 40s, right? To like stay up all night and to fight and stuff. Like this guy was out of his mind. There's no way.
Okay.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you turn the mic over.
Stick. I like it.
You turn the mic over.
So the chat is blowing up and said,
happens.
So the chat real quick, Javin Pulido is saying that there's actually 300. I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe pyramids. And he said Operation High Jump did happen. You're allowed to fly, costs $30,000. But from my understanding, you can only fly in like beyond the outskirts of Antarctica.
I believe the operation happened. There's some good that came out of it. Like I'm reading on Wikipedia, which is such a good source, right?
Why were the Russians so interested in it, and then the Germans?
Educational stats from his Wikipedia.
Right. I mean, we extended our knowledge of electromagnetics, and like geographic, hydrographic stuff. Whatever.
It's weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, I believe the operation went down. I don't believe there was a forest.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Fair
enough.
Of
course, the operation happened.
Joe, what say you?
So we all agree that the imagination spectrum for the human brain is much wider than a satellite, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's manipulated. Right. Okay. So for that reason, thanks, Len, with your master's degree coming and taking my answer in, bringing logic in.
My bad.
No, you're all right.
Now you're going to get the Detroit version.
She asked what year, and I thought, okay, so 1947. I'm going to look this up, and I'm pretty sure it was the greatest year in the history of peyote, like the crop they had. And I think that this dude was probably on some.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
he never. Here's the thing, though.
Antarctica is a desert, so
right.
There's probably some peyote under the ice there.
So
well,
he
I'm
never.
saying somewhere in this whole mission, his mind lost touch with reality, which is very easy to do. If you read about people that have spent years in solitary confinement, okay, they come out like
but he was never in solitary.
Their favorite person to talk to is themselves. Well, kind of. Wasn't he?
No, he was.
Like
I mean, he was there with.
He
was there with like over 86 ships, 4,000 men. Like
who's
this
he flying
whole
with?
When you're in a desert.
Well, why didn't anyone?
I don't know
else
who he was flying with. Yeah,
is my
but
question.
I mean,
why didn't anyone else write this?
What is that called when you're in a desert and you see like?
And then he didn't
mirage.
break.
So he saw a mirage.
He didn't completely break the story himself then. It was his son then who found his diary.
Yeah.
Who let it all out. He used to hint towards it in interviews.
There's shit that didn't make
there's
way for
interviews
himself.
He did it for the clout. He did it for the clout.
Exactly.
I don't think it was drugs. I don't think it was
Len
drugs.
said, okay, it was 47. Okay, so when he came back, he experienced the 60s, bro. He could have wrote that after the 60s, bro. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
I like that. Hey,
They didn't
Joe,
find
that
it
was
till
good.
They found it posthumously. He literally could have wrote that in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody in America was sober in the 60s.
Brian Kelly says it was
Just saying.
the journey to the center of the earth. Okay. And it was Trump. I don't know what that means.
It was
Trump,
Brian.
Trump.
All right.
Laura. If that's the same Brian Kelly that I'm thinking of, that's he's got the life of Brian picture on his Facebook picture.
Nice.
So he's a Monty Python fan, so he's probably right. So
Laura, our guest, what is your take on all of this?
Total BS. However, I do think it was a
Wisconsinites stand together.
It was a manifestation of him wanting to be in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
So think about, I mean, I don't know how much of you have been overseas for an extended period of time, but the longer I was in Iraq, the 16 months, the more I dreamt about home, the more I was manifesting this utopic society, right? So perhaps he was there for such a long time that he was writing down what he was actually hoping to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of the opposite. Like I'd rather go back to Iraq because I can actually get around cities there better than I can my own home country.
Okay, so his entire story is bullshit. That's the take, and my take is that his story is bullshit too. But can we agree that there are some weird things probably going on in Antarctica that we don't know about, like that because it's so secretive over there, and like we don't have access to it?
No? But who wants to go down there?
Conditions.
There it is.
Well, you're not allowed to, from my understanding.
You can go
even if you wanted to. You can't. No,
you got to have some serious scratch. You got to be able to get on a boat. You got to be able to have an expedition down there. Who wants to go down there?
I had a friend that went there, and that's where she got engaged.
They run marathons at the Antarctica. Like if you do the 7 continents, they hold a marathon there.
See, this is usually how about 20 years ago. About 20 years ago, this is how all Dave's thoughts went down the drain in the platoon office.
And don't they have like a 5th sea?
Never.
Yeah.
Or 5th ocean.
And who owns Antarctica?
We do. America owns everything.
America, the USA. No.
What do we not own? That's what I thought. All right, so
we don't own Antarctica.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, we own the world. Yes,
it's ours.
Get into that.
It's ours.
That
would be part of the United Nations, or what?
We won the Cold War.
Yeah, but anyway, okay. So no, it didn't happen. It was all bullshit, and yeah.
Yeah, so I'll actually have to look this up. I'll have to look this up a little bit, but yeah, because Buddy and his weak genes.
Buddy would have thought it was all real.
Yeah,
didn't interrupt, but
Buddy was supposed to have an honesty cap today, but he's not here, and the viewership has dropped because he's very much part of the talent of the show. But it's his fault. His kid threw up before he could get on a plane yesterday, right? And now he has to take his kid to the airport today, and he couldn't come on the show. But again, weak genes is a problem. And, Buddy transferred weak genes to his son, and his son was not able to get onto a plane without vomiting. So unless Buddy is here to defend himself, then I am right. All right. And he's not. So
is Buddy supposed to be airborne too?
He was, but
he's like super airborne.
But he didn't transfer those genes to his son.
He's Halo, so he's
like a Halo jump master, Jedi master, everything master. And he just but his son, nope. But he must
not so much.
Oh Jesus,
not so much. But anyways, it is what it is.
Keep my kids out of your mouth.
Absolutely no out of bounds line.
Buddy.
I mean, Buddy was mad that when he found out that my daughter was playing tackle football in Texas, because he got mad because he thinks that's the demasculinity of society. He's like, 20 years ago, your daughter wouldn't have played because men were men. And so
exactly why we have Women's History Month now.
Right, and that's a great segue to what I wanted. Right? So when I had to come up and cover for Buddy, I was like, okay, I got to think of something quick here, and it wasn't too difficult. I have to first address the people getting triggered, and I know Len commented on the page on VTT Official about it. But when somebody's like, "Hey, how could you promote alcohol?" As when you're a page that's stopping veteran suicide. First of all, we're not trying to stop veteran suicide.
We're not promoting to do that either, to like just drink to oblivion.
Right. And it's like we're not here to stop veteran
Nick
suicide.
does it every day, and it's fine.
We're here. You should see the text I get from Dave at nighttime. So he definitely partakes in some cocktails.
Dave, keep those nudes to yourself.
Yeah.
Only Nick and Joe get those. It's fine.
Yeah. Wrong number, my ass.
Yeah.
Wasn't funny.
Unsolicited for sure.
New phone. Who's this? But there's
like a 3-hour time difference. It's 3:30 in the morning. I'm thinking, fuck, something's wrong with Dave, and then, bing.
Yeah.
Love you, Joe.
Wrong number, my ass.
But that's where we get into problems, and I'm sure Laura will talk about it later when you talk about leadership and you talk about understanding your audience, understanding who your people are, who your followers are. If you ever try to just put people into one path and one funnel, all right, you're only going to end up with those people in that funnel. Then you just disenfranchise everybody else, and nobody else gets a say in what's going on. So yes, can alcohol be a problem? Absolutely. 99% of all the bad stories I have, alcohol was involved with it.
Alcohol or drugs. Yeah.
Freaking, well, drugs, I've had pretty good stories, but like
still ended up bad.
the alcohol, the worst drug in my opinion, right, is alcohol. And it's disgusting when you see it hurt somebody, because that chemical dependency upon it, it now becomes an addiction, and now the body's craving it, even when you think, how can that person drink again? And it's like, because their body's craving it. So yeah, we don't want you to go to 10th Mountain Whiskey if you're
type
an
in
alcoholic,
VTT and get a discount.
but you get to get a discount if you are still raging. All right, so like,
I was shameless as fuck.
Yeah. But again, there are 100,000 reasons why people try to kill themselves or kill themselves. Right. So if you just say alcohol, well, okay, maybe some, maybe a few, right? And just like we do our gambling show, is it okay to gamble? Yeah, it's okay to gamble. Is it okay to gamble if you're addicted to it and are $30,000 in debt and your kids are on food stamps? No, then you're an idiot, right? Then you can't control yourself. And we are all idiots at one point in time in our lives. All right, there's times today I might be an idiot about something. You never know. I might do something freaking stupid.
You're an idiot, Nick. Can you say that again, Nick?
Well, Nick, I
say
can
that again.
caveat off that when you want to take a breather, because you touched on something that I was. Go ahead.
And so, to you that we upset on VTT official, we don't really apologize. We just understand that there are people who are struggling with alcoholism, and we don't promote that to those people. But we do have a culture and a society, especially in the veteran community, that they like to partake in a drink once in a while, right? And so, like,
Monica, real quick. Monica says in the chat, alcohol and drugs are not the problem. Lack of mental health care is.
It's true.
Beautifully said.
Yep.
Alcohol, it could be something else, right?
Right, exactly.
Right,
like I said, there's 100 different things that you could lose control of in your life, right? Like whatever it is, I always say, like, my biggest problem, and I'm open and honest about it, is my temper. Right? I have a very bad temper. I don't have a violent temper, but I blow things out of proportion way too fast. Right. And it's like, I have to try to check that. And it's not going to go away tomorrow, but as long as I keep acknowledging it and working on it and staying out of the situations that exploded, right, then that's what it is. So again, if alcohol is your problem and you keep going back to it, that ain't nobody else's fault but yours.
Yep.
Right. Like, period. You have to take ownership of it. My kids don't make me lose my temper. I lose my temper.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. Like,
Yep.
I mean,
we all have choices.
And,
we all got
admitting.
and I'll tell you this, since we've started, I've gotten at least half a dozen veterans to go into treatment, at least in the last year and a half. And I know these guys have had a couple on their own too, and I'm sure Len has, and Laura nailed it. Nailed it when she said, if it's not alcohol, what else is it going to be? And it's kind of like if you took all the guns off the planet and the best weapon out there was a baseball bat. People would say baseball bats are the problem. That ain't the problem. It's the 6 inches between your ears, and it's what you're accountable for. And
that's what Monica was saying.
And when I wasn't in touch with these guys for the period of time in my life, I had a serious alcohol problem. I drank to go numb, and my wife had to basically tell me, like, look, I've loved you since I was 17, but don't ask me to tie my hopes and dreams to you if you're just going to die in your sleep, because there's nights I stay on the phone with you just to hear you breathing, because I was on pain pills and I was drinking. And I was lucky to live through that year. I didn't contact anybody. So when we say things about drinking and stuff like that, don't think for 2 seconds that there's no sensitivity or empathy here. There is. But you got to be honest about what your problem is. And if you tell one of us, I guarantee you we'll put you in touch with somebody that can help you. And then the onus is yours. And that's what we push, is taking the help that's out there, you know, and you might have to hear 50 no's at the VA to get the right answer. Bro, that's the game. Otherwise, pay for your own health care. That's the game. My kids go to college for free because I had a flesh wound in my arm in Iraq.
And you cry like a baby.
Yeah, right. And there's benefits out there. Like they can like take advantage of what's out there for you, and don't quit on yourself. And that's all we're saying is like, if there's a problem that you have, tell us about it. We're not promoting alcohol. It took 6 years before I could really drink again, because I had to learn to actually take a beer and sip it. Or not, I mean, excuse me. I would turn a pint up till it was gone, until I couldn't lift a pint anymore. Okay, so I learned after 3 or 4 beers, when I start feeling the head rush, that's it for me. I shut it down.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten drunk in so long, I can't tell you, but I'll still have a drink every now and then. But I had to quit for almost 6 years. Cold turkey, gone.
And I've been to
and you made that choice.
It was the habit I had to break. You know, it wasn't impossible. It was just the mental side of it. You know, luckily for me, I didn't have very much physical reaction to it. I know a lot of people do, and it can kill you. You know, and that's what rehabs and stuff like that are for. But I've talked to a couple of veterans out there, and one that I know is probably going to listen to this, and he knows I'm talking about him. And I told him, like, look, bro, we're both fathers, man. I'm gonna put you on the man card system. Not to sound chauvinistic, because that's not what it means. But if you can't look at what if you can't look at what your problem is, and see that it's taking away from your kids, then bro, I ain't got nothing for you. Because that's, to me, that's man code. You made them. They didn't ask to be here, and your habit is hurting them. If you're not man enough to change it at that point, then I don't know what I can say.
Spot on.
You know?
And Monica Joe just said, be honest with your vulnerabilities. It's not weak, it's strong as fuck, and the only way to get healthy.
Yeah. Hey, Monica,
like we always say, change starts with
don't get blocked from the chat this week, okay? So do your best not to use any pronouns that Facebook doesn't like.
Yeah.
You know, here's a.
She just texted me that too. She's
but
like,
great point, Monica. Yeah.
And you know,
and Monica's been in the fight.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, we love her.
And then here's a little segue into Len, who's joining us today in place of Buddy and his weak jeans. But I think we covered that. You know, another thing that triggers me, like we just said, is like when I say man card, now I have to put a disclaimer in there and say, well, you know what I mean, right? Where anybody who isn't a triggered pansy can understand that man card just means responsibility card. Like, are you owning up to your word? Okay. And yes, we have come a long way since even 1950, right? With the way that women are treated, with the way that women do things. And what drives me insane is what I call disenfranchisement. I've said it 100 times on this show. All right. When you disenfranchise women, because let's just say Len is exactly the same as Laura because they're female veterans. All right. It's not true. All right. And veterans are a minority as well. So when you hear veteran, all of a sudden we all hate fireworks, we all have PTSD, and we all want to shoot everybody. Right. And it's like, and we all want to raid the Capitol. Right. And it's like what, like,
yeah, that's a big one, huh?
Like, guys, come on. Like you're taking away my voice. And when you say, you know, I feel this way because I'm black, and you don't understand because you're white. Okay. Are you speaking for all black people, or are you speaking for yourself? Right? Are you, because you can't even speak for an entire city because you think everybody in a city is the same exact way. So here's where we get away from our institutional freedom, and we bring in, let's make sure everybody's in a certain category and everybody speaks a certain way. Now, I know I'll get some flack, and maybe even the ladies will disagree with me. I don't know, maybe Dave will disagree with me. I don't like Black History Month. I don't like Women's History Month. I made a joke that we just had 2 female guests back to back in March. That wasn't intentional.
And I've been on the show.
Right, and that wasn't intentional. That's just people that came across our spectrum with talent that were veterans that are doing great things. Right, and I've already gotten some, hey, good job scheduling ladies this month.
Yeah. See, I get your point. I know what you mean. It's like why just this month?
Why just this
You know,
month?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I guess
Morgan Freeman I think he said it the best when it comes to Black
great
History
one.
Month. He's
The
like,
great
I don't
one.
want a Black History Month. Just
Yep.
stop talking about it.
Yeah,
You know, like we're all humans. Like, do we have a White History Month? You know, and he does this cool.
He also
segment on
asked
it.
the interviewer.
And yeah.
He also asked the interviewer to stop referring to him as a black man,
Yep.
just to call him a man.
Yeah.
Because the interviewer was white, and he said, "I would also prefer it if you stopped referring to me as a black man and just call me a man."
Now, I think history,
man,
part of history should be discussed, Nick. I think,
know?
like, I don't know, maybe Women's History Month. I think.
Well, that's how I felt the whole time I was in the military. Like, just treat me like a soldier. Just
yeah.
Well, yeah.
I will be able to lift that Mark 19. I will be able to do anything you tell me to do. I might need to be with the funnel. That's it, right?
Well, I hate the most when people say female soldiers. No, they're soldiers. Like soldiers.
Yeah, period.
The first female
airmen. No, they're airmen. You know, like yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
It disenfranchises them. So
air people.
Yeah, air people. Len, I know I know you're a big advocate and for individual rights and we would 100% support that idea and that most of your opinions. Obviously, some people might disagree. We'll hear there, but what do you think about Women's History Month?
Well, I think that it's important because we hear history, right? And so you might not agree with me, but it's his story and it's written from a man's perspective. You don't always hear her story. So when you're in school and you're in social studies or history or whatever, you see it from a man's point of view. You don't, like, as a woman, as a little girl growing up, there was very rarely where I saw, oh, this woman did this woman did that, somebody to look up to, I can say, oh, I can be like that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, even in today's society, it's taken a lot for women to get to where we are. I mean, it wasn't too far behind where women were just staying home and being housewives and like marrying just for a comfort to live. You know what I
guess
mean?
That's a good point, Len. The fix would be though to focus on all those great accomplishments, not just in that month, but throughout, like, education.
I feel like it should be throughout education and not just for that month, including Black history. We should know that throughout everything. You know what I mean? Because all this stuff is very significant for me as a non-white person, a person of color, and being a woman. And being 10% of the 10% of the military, you know what I mean? Like, it's like really hard to find like somebody to look up to and be like, that's exactly who I want to strive for. And so for me, I feel like it's very important to see that and see those accomplishments and be proud of being a woman. Because even today, we're still like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, if you're a man, why are you telling me what to do with my body? You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, it's still big to this day.
That's a good take, because again, that's a take from your perspective, which none of us have.
Right. And so again, if I said that, let's get Len's opinion because she's a woman. Now I just took away from her opinion. Okay, Len is a veteran and a host and a part of our family, and that's the opinion that we just got. Right? So it's like, and so people who want to live in their own little tiny bubble in their own little vacuum. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Len.
I agree. It shouldn't be just a month. But I feel like it's just still recent history that it needs to be celebrated. And that way, going forward in the future, it'll be included and incorporated in books instead of, you know what I mean?
Those of you watching, I hope some of you paying attention understood what just happened there. I said I don't like Women's History Month because of A and B, whatever. Len just said that she likes it because it should be celebrated because of A, B, C, and D, right? Everybody, that's okay. Like, that's literally what's supposed to happen. You're allowed to have different opinions. Like, I'm not.
You mean we're not friends anymore? Fuck you.
You must have voted for Trump.
Well, Len, I just blocked you from my life.
Yeah, exactly. Now again, if you cross ethical lines, or if you cross a line that where it's it's one of your character traits that is strong or a strong bias, then that's when it's time to walk away from some people. It's like, I'm not going to have a conversation with you because I'm just I'm not ever going to listen to that, like, ever. And maybe my bias is too strong. Could be whatever. But good segue into our guest, who happens to be a woman that we're assuming, right? So, like,
female soldier.
We are assuming that Laura is a female soldier. And we had a great talk. Wait, the fifth principle comes out on the 15th, and we had JC Glick on there, the dad bod heartthrob. He came on and was talking about when he was on the committee for, doing the new PT test. He's like, why can't we just stop with the gender scores?
Yes.
He's like, if you only need to do 10 push-ups to carry a rifle in combat, then make it 10. Right? Like, and if a woman or man can't do 10, see you later.
Oh, he said
Right?
it. Generalize it. Just okay. Interesting.
Right. Like
I missed that episode. Yeah.
Well, it hasn't come out yet. It's coming out
Okay.
on the 15th. But yeah, same thing. And so we're not going to call Laura a female veteran. All right, unless
call her a
Len wants
veteran.
to, because Len's
Yep.
celebrating it. Like it is
Oh,
what it is.
veteran.
Like
I would rather
it's-
just veteran.
veteran.
Service
And
member.
not to mention, if you can see her, if I don't know, her bio is not on our page, but
She was an MP though.
She was an MP, but
Oh, I'm off.
yeah.
All right. This is my defense to that. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're
I
ready.
signed up before
Good
women
luck.
could be on the front lines. It was the closest a woman could get to the front lines, period. So I wanted to go as hard as I could. And that's why I chose MP, because I could get
Heck
close.
yeah. I salute you.
All right.
Good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Was that our mechanic? And I wasn't.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I still not buy
Women's
it.
history.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Anybody that chooses MP, there's a shady side to them. So we don't. Maybe we'll uncover it
Not
today.
if you're from Wisconsin. Everyone's sweet around there.
Exactly. I mean, you come to Wisconsin, yeah, everything's great.
Nice.
But
I'm
anyways,
I'm waiting to meet a nice person out of Wisconsin. Laura, you have your chance today.
yeah,
'Cause I know Nick.
Laura is an author. If she could show that book up there, I think Chris has the picture. Maybe not, but she is an author and wrote the book called Sirens, conveniently because she was an MP, right? And she also explains why she's better than Joe, because she pees standing up. And from the beginning of Veteran Trash Talk, I think the very first show, we spent about 20 minutes talking about
Really
why Joe's-
apologize for you being dragged into this, Laura.
Yeah, why Joe has to sit down and pee. So Joe is actually just trying to get more in touch with his feminine side and figure out what that's actually like, while Laura on the opposite end of the bell curve is like, I
It's my
want to know what it's like
process.
to stand up and pee.
He continues to celebrate women's history all the whole
Right,
time.
What
so
if you're
Laura-
playing
Laura-
a really
Laura, tell us-
interesting video or your knees hurt?
Yeah,
Just
Laura,
saying.
you got the next half hour. Tell us
The floor is
all about
yours.
yourself. Tell us why you never went airborne, and then explain why you went
MP and non-airborne.
MP and non-airborne, like just
Laura,
disgusting.
the floor is
But,
yours. We'll
the
shut
floor
up.
is yours, Laura. Welcome to the Trash Talk
Let's
Hour.
go with airborne first.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull
What happened was
my card on that one, because if I would have known that was an option, I would have done it in a heartbeat. In fact, it was after the military that I finally jumped out of a plane and loved it.
Nice.
I just signed up because I had no clue.
you
what
just
I
had a
was
shitty recruiter, probably.
doing. Well,
Yeah,
it was 6 months before
Who
September
volunteers
11th.
for Wisconsin?
And I just signed up because I wanted some adventure and I wanted to serve our country. And oh, you're gonna pay for college? Heck yeah. And I was in crew my freshman year of college, and so I wanted another way to stay in shape and stay motivated. And yeah, so I just signed up, and nobody tried to talk me into doing anything else. They didn't ask me to go ROTC. They didn't ask me to do anything. So I just did the first thing I thought of.
Nice.
Nice.
We'll talk about everything that you're doing now.
Yeah, like I
The
said, the
floor
floor
is
is
yours.
yours. How did
All
what
right.
turn into
Yeah.
what? And
So, okay, so these are the journals I took the entire time I was in Iraq. They're just chock full, 500 days worth of journaling, which is how long our deployment lasted about. And I turned them into a book. Finally got an editor publisher in 19, and well, in 17, but got this published in 19. So it took 14 years to get it done, but I got it done, doggone it.
Congratulations.
Thanks, it's off my bucket list. Essentially a chronological order of my deployment. But then I do talk a lot about post-traumatic stress and moral injury and all that stuff. And I've given hundreds of presentations throughout Wisconsin, and I lived in England for a while. I gave a few there.
Nice.
And Fargo, of all places.
yeah, I owe Adri.
You taught in England, right?
Yeah, I taught physical education there. So rounders and netball and, all those sports you never even hear of in the United States. But yeah, I talked a lot about anyways what it's like to come home and not have this utopic society that you think you have, and you're still dealing with all this change, and you're ostracized by people who don't understand you anymore because you're a different person. I mean, swearing all the time and spitting while walking down State Street in Madison and doing things I never would have dreamed of as a civilian, and trying to reintegrate. And
Spitting on the road.
oh, I mean, I was a spitter in Iraq,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
not very pretty, Laura.
It's not, but doggone it, that's what I turned into. And so
Yeah.
I had to get back into just being my normal self after that. And it wasn't easy. And so a lot of people that I've read the book or I've given presentations to have said it's really helped them to better understand the veterans in their life and what they're going through. So that's been really helpful.
Did they give you any examples of that in your book? Like what exactly they meant by that? Because we 100% agree with that, especially with Veteran Trash Talk, to where when people are like, why are civilians here? And it's like, veterans live in neighborhoods.
Yeah. We let the Air Force in.
We let
It's
the Air
kinda same
Force in, right? Navy only if you're a submariner. That's why
We love you, Air Force. Okay.
And once again, we are not standing here deciding whether we're letting civilians into our economy. It's the other way around. So if you can't assimilate and you don't think we need civilians, you're well behind the curve.
That was good.
Because we do. Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
That was good. Yeah.
I'm gonna frame that one.
Yeah.
Nick said that was good.
I'm writing it down for you,
Make sure
Joe.
you're writing in cursive.
Yeah.
And
Well, so
I
Laura,
only know how to write in capitals.
talk a little bit about that experience of where people are do you have any examples of where someone's like, hey, this part right here in my book is what drew me to this or that?
Well, I mean,
If you can, put you on a spot a little bit.
no, it's fine. So I got an email once from a good friend who's like, now that I read your book, I totally understand how to better talk to my dad and to ask him questions or to just let him be when he gets in these moments, right? Because she didn't understand what was going on in his head before, and now she has a better idea. And another friend who said she might not have broken up with her ex-boyfriend had she known what he was actually going through when he got back from Iraq, because she didn't know how to respond to it. And so it's just putting into words some of those things that are so hard to articulate and giving it meaning for civilians who may not have any idea how to scratch the surface.
And where can people go to get your book?
Everywhere. Amazon, Walmart.
Antarctica?
Beautiful.
Well, you know.
Nope. I mean, maybe.
Everywhere.
It's on, so I read it.
Antarctica has had your book for 15 years in the
Before you even
forest.
wrote it.
Yeah, before you even thought of it.
The Nordic aliens have it out there. Yeah.
Yep.
You can get my audio version on Google Play, but you can order the hardcover, Kindle, and paperback versions on Amazon and Walmart.
All right, give us your favorite MP story. We've had MPs on here before. We've shunned them. But
you know, I never did anything associated with military police on a base or like going after our own soldiers. So my military police was training the Iraqi police officers on how to be proper police officers.
Oh, that had to be a nightmare.
Oh,
I've already had a discussion with Laura, so I already knew that. I kind of knew this answer. That's why I wanted to get to
so
it.
we didn't always do things like we should have. There were times when my team leader, who was a man, would search me to demonstrate how to do searches, and he would touch me over my vest inappropriately to like get under the Iraqi skin. So that wasn't very appropriate, but I couldn't feel anything because I had my 2-inch vest on. Not a favorite story, but we taught them how to use their weapons. We taught them not to treat their prisoners very poorly because they were starving their prisoners or they were pistol whipping their prisoners.
Oh, they were killing them too.
Yeah. So favorite MP story. We did a ton of work with infantry when we were over there, and we would go on their missions when they were raiding some of the compounds that Iraqis were living in, and we'd have to help search the women on these missions. And tons and tons of stories coming out of here. But one time they were on a muddy field and they got a tank stuck in the field, and then they got an 88, which is the tank recovery vehicle, stuck in the field. And we're just sitting there watching them, trying to get this stuff out the whole time, just laughing at them. you know, and there was a lot of scary parts. Our police station that we were in for 3 months, training the Iraqi police officers, was destroyed by a car bomb, and we lost 5 Iraqi police officers and 21 citizens in the area, civilians in the area, and it was, you know, pretty catastrophic. Walking in the building and just seeing a lone hand there, and seeing the children that you would watch every day while posting guard just being pulled out of their homes dead from this one car bomb, you know. So it was pretty tragic. We were there the day after Saddam Hussein was caught. So it was a 24-hour mission, and it was hell on earth, because it was just Bradley tanks going off everywhere. We're driving through the city trying to get from one point to the other point, and there's gunfire going off left and right, and you just don't know if you're gonna make it out of there alive. So a lot of crap. We had to move from the green zone to southern Baghdad, and lived in tents, and those tents were getting mortared all the times. You know, you wake up 5 tents down, was destroyed by a mortar. And then not to mention the fact that there was guys who knew that there was a tent with 13 females, and they would come in there in the middle of the night and try to see what they could see, or stand in our shower trailers and wait for a woman to come out. And then we're driving all the time on the road, and so IEDs were super prevalent at the time, and they're getting, you know, three vehicles back blowing up, or right at the front of our convoy, or right at the end. And I mean, it was, yeah.
Like I use humor to deal with, you know, my PTSD, and like, you know, when I'm uncomfortable, and like, so, you know, Dave made a sound, and it's like, I've talked about this before, like when Leah shared her story, I felt uncomfortable like listening to that. And so I'll use a little bit of humor here, but I'm not downplaying what you're saying. You know, it's like, but the only one who really had to worry about getting assaulted on our patrol base was Joe, because of how small and pretty he is. But like, you know, I, you know, that was a little humor there, but no, I couldn't imagine having to deal with the stuff that
open weight combatives champ. No big deal.
Well, it's because everybody liked you. They wanted to roll around with you. But sure. So what you explained, we've been through almost everything you've just said. You know, car bombs blowing up police stations, you know, all the civilian deaths, and then everything else. I never had to worry about coming out of the shower.
No,
like that was not a worry. That like
sleeping in your tent.
I was just Nick. I was just gonna say that. Could you imagine like say like at Spiker when or when we were in oh, for love of God. Yeah, when we were at Kuwait, could you imagine if one of us got caught Hawkeye in the female showers by like Juan Perez?
Oh my God.
Maybe the end of your career. Your career would be over. Like, so we did have females around us when we were deployed very minimally.
Rarely.
But
yeah,
if we even got caught looking sideways or unprofessional towards a female, like that's the thing that frustrates us.
And it's so funny you bring that up, Joe, because this is back in
on being professionals and carrying ourselves like the part of the fraternity that jumped into World War II. And that was because we had great leadership, but there was no jackassing around when we were out with
Joe, you hit the nail on the head with that.
We walked around like we were different because we felt different, and we carried ourselves at a different standard. And looking at a female like that, it was the furthest thing from my mind.
And this is an all infantry platoon back in you know, mid 2000s, you know. And then you have all this sharp stuff that's just increasing more and more in the military, and it's like we were raised just not to do that. Again, an all infantry unit, you know, like it just blows my mind. It's the leadership. That's exactly what it is, and how we were brought up.
And there's a good
segue. And then Nick, a segue to what I guarantee what you're going to talk about. But you were a first sergeant when females started coming into the infantry.
Yep.
And all these non-combat armed dudes, and everybody's complaining about females in the infantry, females in combat arms, all the situations that could arise. Situations did occur. And I'm gonna let you finish this off, Nick, because I know what you're gonna talk about, but like we had respect for females, and that's how we were raised, and that's how we were brought up, maybe in our personal lives as well, but also through great leaders in the military. But anyway, Nick,
the more you work with them, the more you realize like we didn't have issues necessarily with the people in our company.
Yeah,
it was the people outside of our company that never worked with females.
It just blows my mind. You shouldn't have to deal with that shit.
Most of the females that we worked with over there, they literally had to be told by somebody, hey, look, we're going to treat you like you can do the job. Relax.
Yeah.
Because they'd be so screwed on tight to not screw up because they wanted to be taken seriously, we'd be like, hey, like, take a breath. All right, we're going to treat you the same and tell you what you needed to do, and that's it. Like, you know, we talked about Good Soldier last week. You know, that poor girl was set up for failure when she came to us, and it was just like that. That was an eye opener for me when Nick came to me and said she's got dummy rounds. They sent her to go outside the wire with dummy rounds. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, I'll
say that
unbelievable.
In the Navy, we had the same experience because when I came on, we still had ships that were all male ships. And so I would serve.
Well, we know what we say about the Navy, Len. I don't think you got to worry about them being interested in women. I'm just saying.
Well, I would have guys that serve with.
We love you, Navy.
They're like, well, why are there women on ships? Like, this is ridiculous. I want to go back to my all-male ship, blah, blah, blah. This is like, we got to tailor it to you females. You know what I mean? Like, and then we would have to worry about them drilling holes in our walls in the head latrines. Like,
you're fucking serious?
Yes. Yeah. And so whenever I stepped into the shower, I made sure it was covered with a towel because they have holes where they were peeking and spying.
Jesus Christ, man.
When we lived in the green zone, we had makeshift showers that didn't have a top over them, and helicopter pilots would hover over while we were showering.
No.
Seriously. I would just like give them the bird and just keep
a lot
on,
more believable
like,
than your conspiracy story, Dave.
Too much free time or idle time on a deployment is a really bad recipe.
I believe you, Laura. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you can't be discreet when you're in a helicopter. You know, people are going to see you hovering.
Yeah. And then, of course, the helicopter, so you're going to look up. And then
they do that all the time when I'm out here swimming naked in my pool, too. And I'm just like, you know, fuck you.
Everybody's going after Dave. But Dave's been.
But anyway, Nick, I think a good segue, you as a first sergeant, you know, when females came into the infantry.
I'll get back here to Laura and talk about her, you know, her path towards being a leadership coach, and, you know, how like, obviously we know how the military helped that, but, you know, what other ways did you grow? Did you use some of, you know, as resilience? Did you use some of the bad experiences to, you know, focus your energy somewhere else, or to, you know, just grow in a sense? Because do I want women fighting wars? Personally, no. Right? No, I don't. Right? But should they be allowed to? Yes. Right? And so, again, like Joe said, I was just raised differently in the military, to where when I got a female, it was like, okay, right now you're same. All right, until you show me otherwise. Right?
You know, if I could have, I might have tried to go all out when I signed up. You know, SEALs, Green Beret, whatever. Like, I wanted to prove that I could be just as tough as everybody.
We can still make it happen, Laura.
Yeah, well, but yeah, like Joe's using my line. Yeah, Joe's.
I have some connection. I got some connections in the recruiting.
He's a recruiter. He's trying to recruit you back in.
Recruiter of the year. No big deal.
The mission's low in Surprise, Arizona. So
Laura, you're a strategic
Surprise, Dave's a recruiter.
Strategic leadership consultant now.
Yeah. So let's
a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Yeah, talk about that. How you got into that, and just go.
All right. So I'm going to give you a little bit more history before I jump into that. But I got out of the military and then started this program at a high school. I was a PE teacher, but I did the adventure ed. So I spent a month and a half building community and trust within these heterogeneous group of students who became a family within a 4-month semester, right? So I feel like I've got a lot of this natural affinity to build strong teams. And then got 2 master's degrees, again, thanks to the military. And one's in educational leadership. So then I became a principal for 4 years at a middle school in my hometown. And so I used a lot of what I learned as being a principal and a leader in that regard. And I've taken that into my leadership consulting. And, you know, I'm in this franchise with other military, they're high ranking military leaders who have since retired. So I'm in this with these guys again. I mean, this is kind of the cycle of my life. And I'm learning a ton with them. And so I'm able to transfer a lot of this knowledge that I've gained from the military, from being a principal, from being a teacher, and everything else in my life to help other people be the best leaders they can be, and to build strong teams, And I really try to focus on those newly promoted leaders because, man, when you get promoted from within, that's really, really tough to go from peer status to power status. That's kind of my focus right now. And then I also still professionally speak either on the experience of Iraq or just how to build better groups of people, because it's such a divisive country right now. And how can we come together? Because we got to do it. And Len and Nick, you totally hit the nail on the head. You can disagree and still totally get along and be great friends.
Right. I thought Joe was going to say something there, but no, it looked like it. It looked like you were coming out of your shell there. It looked like perking up. Hey, say hi to Megan. There she goes. But that's Dave's clock that he needs to close up pretty soon because
No, I'm good. My dad's visiting from Germany. He might walk in here in a sec. But
yeah. Giuseppe.
He's got a great name.
Oh, what a great name, Giuseppe. Yeah,
Giuseppe. Italiano. Yeah.
Okay, so
I got the English version.
You know,
Pepe.
Laura, you hit the nail on the head with, building great teams, and you always hear the people talk, the speeches about it, but it's like, what teams have you built? Right? Did you build them out of necessity? Did you build them, because you just felt like creating something? Both, there's all these avenues that, that come into play to where, sometimes I'm forced to build good teams. And then you start to realize that if I don't constantly surround myself with good teams, that's when my life starts going, in a different direction other than forward or productive.
Absolutely.
Right? So kind of what we're doing in VTT, and I think we've assembled a really awesome team already. But again, anybody watching, anybody on the page, we tell you to join up, because you might not say anything for 2 or 3 years. You might never even comment on a photo. You might never comment on a post, but be part of the team, because you never know when your answer might really help somebody. But no, it's great to have you on, Laura. And when you talk about your experiences, and again, it's uncomfortable. This is what we talked about last week. It's uncomfortable for people to listen to what you just said, right? When Len shares her stories, and like when Leah shared hers and Carrie shared hers last week, it's uncomfortable. Like we don't like hearing it. And like, that's why Joe always says, and he's not wrong, he's always says the same thing. He's like, we were like, what? No, like we don't, that doesn't happen. But yes, it does. And then that's why the training is important, is because there is a predator amongst our group. There's predators all on our page right now, and we catch them, as the community weeds them out, but they can strike at any time.
And I want to say that it starts within you, and it starts with the group with leadership. Like Laura, you teach leadership, strategic leadership. And I'm so happy that Nick, Dave, Joe, you guys had great leadership growing up in the military. And not everybody has that. Not everybody has the experience. Not everybody's raised the same way from childhood. Not everybody's taught the same thing in the military. And that's awesome that you guys bring that to the table. And that's great leadership on y'all's part. But we also need to hear the stories that are hard to hear. And yes, you guys would never do that. But then the other people, those are those people in the group who've never heard these stories, or maybe they're one of these people. Maybe they're a predator. They need to hear about themselves because nobody wants to tell them about themselves. So it's definitely important to be that leadership or to be that leader and to voice that out. So.
Yeah. And then Laura, hit on this real quick. Cause I remember when I got promoted to E5, and then, actually Dave became my boss, and then Joe was actually under me, and I had to counsel Joe. And I was like,
Joe was the worst garrison soldier ever,
and it was like,
hey, he was a warrior in battle. He was a warrior in battle, but garrison, oh my God.
I didn't like it.
God, that was probably one of the most awkward times for me in the military. I'm like, Joe, I got to talk to you.
I decided on a Tuesday night to go to a Charlotte Hornets game, and we got snow in North Carolina, and I got stuck out there and missed like an entire day.
Internally, I still get heated, like you even talking about that story, Joe.
And so when I walk in and Nick's got to counsel me, he's just like staring at me like,
it's hard when you have to.
This is so fucking awkward for you. Why are you doing this to me? Like you owe me one.
Yeah,
Like he was like, this is like, don't make me do this.
Yeah. So
Well,
Laura, you're talking about that getting promoted from your peers to now power. Well, give us something. Give us what is in that situation, you know, from junior level leadership, like brand new.
Yeah.
You're promoted. What's your advice?
My advice is you gotta have incredibly strong character and consistency to start with, because every single person that you are on the same level with is going to be judging everything that you do and wondering how good you're going to be. So if you just lead with integrity, and if you know what, if you screw up, just say you screwed up. And I'm sure that when you two had to have a conversation, you both learned and grew from it and became better from it. And maybe even talked about, okay, if this happens again, how are we going to do this? How are we going to deal with this again? Right? It's that open communication.
And you bring up a good point. Go ahead, Laura.
No, go ahead.
No, because in the 82nd and just in general, in the past, you got promoted to E5, you moved. They moved you to a different company. You went to WLC, Warrior Leader course back then. And then you went to a different company. For some reason, Charlie Company, like most of the NCOs stayed.
Right.
So we all progressed in rank, but we were always able to maintain that. Like at work, like Nick would stand up parade rest for me if he needed to, but then we'd party on Saturdays. And like, we just had that instilled in us that, you know, at work, it's fucking work. I got to counsel you, Joe. I'm going to counsel you. On Saturday, we see each other, the NCOs, and we're partying and we're having fun.
But on Saturday at Mickey's, if Dave's going in the parking lot, we're all going.
We did.
I wasn't there yet for that one. I wasn't there yet.
Yeah, that's a good story.
Happened like the weekend before I got there.
It's definitely important to make that distinction between work and then personal life.
Yeah.
And some people don't know how to navigate that. And
that's a big problem though, too. Yeah.
And to show you're competent as well. And even if you aren't competent, you don't go to the people below you to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. What do you think I should do? Right? You go to somebody equal then or higher to you, have that conversation so you can still appear competent to the people below you.
Yeah.
No, that's spot on with that. And you know, I try to preach that, you know, to my junior leaders as well. It's like, you know what, the best way to when you talk to a follower when you screwed up is just say, hey, that's my fault.
Take ownership.
Take ownership.
Well, that's the most respectable thing ever.
But then again, you have like, you know, you have your extreme ownership and everybody gets onto that platform. Like what, not like,
and then again, it depends on the screw up.
Be a good follower, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's like, no, extreme ownership works for the leader too. Like the leader has to own.
Yep. You know, when things go wrong, you take ownership. When things go right,
you don't just start raising your voice even more and yelling because you're fucked up.
That circles back to when in the beginning when we're talking about take ownership for your problems too.
Yeah.
Like being your own leader, so you got to take ownership. That's kind of like the theme for today.
Yeah. So Laura, where can we find all your stuff? All the plugs, your books, you know, more information about.
How can somebody book you to be a speaker?
Yeah.
So all that stuff's on strategicleadersacademy.com. You can go to me and then you can find all the links you need there. I'm also on LinkedIn. And so just go there and find me there. And Nick, your good friend Nick, who introduced us, is helping me with rebooting a much better webpage. Right now I have one, it's called lauracolbert.com. It's low level, so we're getting a better one built.
Is he charging you?
We're not going to have that conversation right now.
Oh, we can't. We're on air. I want this on record because, no. So is it Strategic Leaders
Academy?
So is it leaders?
Yeah.
Okay, Academy. I'm putting it in the chat thread. .com.
I can't spell that. Can you say it in German?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Yeah. I'm a jelly donut or something like that's what something
just
like that.
Just put dots above the U's. That's all I know. Just put dots above the U's and throw an R backwards every now and then.
No, those of you guys who need marketing help, she referenced Nick Packard. So go to NP Connect and you know, he will help you. He's helped Veteran Trash Talk for free.
Incredible.
For free.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Because
I'm really happy for you, Nick. That's great.
Yeah, I got dirt on him, so I definitely blackmail him for services in the marketing thing. But no, he's a great person. He'll be at my retirement party as well. Laura, I have to send you an invite as well. I know Len's coming and Nick's coming. Joe might come. Who knows? I hope he does. Dave might show up.
The face will be there.
Yeah, look, so I know Len kind of did the AAR for me right there. As it all circles back to what we talked about before is self-assessment. And I wanted to get into the Tom Brady post that I had earlier in the week, where again, everybody who knows sports with me knows that I don't think Tom Brady's a top 50 quarterback talent-wise ever. Like, I don't even think he's in the top 50, right? But he is in the top 2 of football player leaders, like, period, right? He takes pay cuts. Why? Look how great of a, no, he's one of the greatest self-assessors of all time. Right? He looks at, as every other quarterback, because anybody who's played the position of where you're the star, the pitcher, the quarterback, right? The center for a soccer team, right? Like, whatever, like, you're the star, right? And like, you think you're the greatest. You work the hardest, you study the most film, right? Tom Brady realized that his talent alone wasn't going to win football games. So to pay him $40 million a year is a bad idea, right? Pay other people to come be more talented around him, right? And then have a great defense. That is what he was the greatest at. He was the greatest at self-assessment, talking to his agent, saying, hey, there's other ways to make money. TB12, freaking dieting, whatever, you know, he's got Giselle, all that other kind of stuff. You know, I think Giselle makes like 100 million more a year than he does anyways. So like, you know, he never had to really worry about it. But that self-assessment allowed him to be a leader.
And you know, he was using his people's strengths and not trying to change them to be something they weren't. And that's another thing that good leaders do.
Awesome.
Yeah. And there's a reason why, you know, for 2 or 3 years, I don't think he had a receiver that was taller than me. It's because they didn't need him to make throws that guys could jump through the ceiling to catch. They needed him to make the right throws.
Yep.
And he had it. And he had it right here.
Dave doesn't watch football.
Dave's like, yeah,
Dave watches football. I even threw it a soccer reference for you, Dave. I even tried for you. But
Brian Kelly, real quick, in regards to leadership earlier, he was talking, I'm very much a team player, but finding people I can totally put my trust in is a miracle in itself, let alone a group. There's always very basic trust, but disappointment seems to always be looming around the corner.
I have an answer to that, but let's let Laura. Laura, you got an answer to that?
I do. I think he's manifesting that.
Well, let Laura do it.
Okay, go ahead.
She's got the degrees. You don't.
My word of the year is benevolence. And what that means is, I know what that means is everything you do is well-intentioned, well-meaning. You act in kindness and you assume that those in your team are going to do the same thing. So even if you totally screw up, you know that it's not something that was done out of anger or maliciousness. Yeah, it's so if you can harness this act of benevolence within your team and know that everybody's just trying to do their best and really have that faith in one another, I think that that's going to take your team to new heights.
And it's exactly what I was going to say. Like,
no,
especially if you're,
yes,
it was.
You can't even say benevolence.
I wouldn't have like articulated it the way she did. I could have done that in German a lot better.
No, nobody would know what you were saying. You were just making up shit up.
I could be making up shit, or in Italian. Just want to throw that out there. Trilingual. But I think if you're already with that mindset going into any situation, whether, you know, telling myself I'm going to fail or I can't do this anyway, or disappointment is on the horizon in this situation, it's going to fucking happen because your mind is constantly focused on everything negative in your life. You're going to bring negativity.
Manifest it.
You're manifesting that negativity.
Right.
However, if you go into a situation,
Jane has never used the word benevolence in English, Italian, or German.
Joe, can you spell benevolence? Don't Google it.
No, but he didn't use it. Laura did.
Exactly.
You said that's
but
exactly what you were
real quick. But if you go into a situation, positive, like you can do this, you can make it. Doesn't matter what other people think if I make it or not. Like just positivity, the outcome's going to be positive no matter what, you know. Right. But Brian, just look at it in a different way. Have some positivity.
A lot of the trust issues, Brian, are probably in your own court.
Ooh,
well, okay, and imagine how much time and mental capacity you spend worrying about what you just said, how that's taken by the other person. Get rid of all that.
We just focus so much on other people's opinions. It blows my fucking mind. Yes.
Put your brain capacity on work or something positive instead of worrying too much about what other people think.
The minute you take that away out of everything you do in life and you don't worry about other people's opinions, you're going to win. I talk about this all the time. Other people's opinions and dwelling on the freaking past. That's it. Like,
and then you're like lens a leader, you know, Laura was a leader, is a leader, you know, Dave's a leader, was a leader. I am. Joe's a leader. You know, he was an NCO in the military and then ran crews and all kinds of stuff in construction, yada, 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 you know, a family, right? You know, people don't realize how many, you know, parents are actual just leaders in their own home, you know, and they don't even realize what they're doing until somebody breaks it down for them, which is, I'm sure, what Laura helps do is, you know, at what point in time are you going forward? And is there ever a time where you need to look back? Sure, but it's not something that you're tied to. Like that's gone, right? And then, yeah, Dave, here's just
real quick, Nick. Brian says you guys are absolutely right. Like I said, working on it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's what I wanted to get to. I was gonna say, hey, we're not saying that we don't still work on it. It's leadership is a growing trait, a growth trait, learned trait, I should say. And so like there's multiple aspects of leadership. You know, whether there are like 9 different types now they call it. Like, you know, you got authentic, you got, you know, positional, you got, you know, whatever.
Transformational.
Yeah, there's all.
I have my degree, so I know that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, there's all kinds of different types of leaders, like transactional, transformational, all this kind of. You can be good at 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of them, or you can just be good at one of them. But as long as you recognize the other ones and you work on them, then you're going to be okay.
But that's the whole point. Is you have to be self-aware.
Right.
To be a leader, you have to know your strengths, your weaknesses, and then everyone else's strengths and weaknesses, and work on that. If you're not self-aware, you can't really, like, if you're not sure of yourself, how are you going to lead somebody else?
Mm-hmm. And get the right people on the team to fill your voids. If you're not good at something, have them be good at it.
Correct. Exploit other people's strengths, work on their strengths, just as an individual. Like if you suck at something and you're trying to do a startup, but you suck at it, like, don't do that. Use your strengths, you know, and do that.
Well, you still got to learn it though.
And, well, it depends on what you're trying to do. You know, too many times. Yeah, that's a good debate. We could go on that one for hours. It's too many times we spend on honing skills that we might not be that good at. How about you hone that skill that you're really fucking good at and then crush it using just that, you know? But that could be a debate for hours. That's another leadership thing, you know? But anyway, Laura, you were saying something.
We'll have to carry that conversation.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's exactly what I talk about, Dave, is high skill, high affinity, go for it.
Yeah.
Maybe the skill that you're good at can't get you paid right now. And there's people that depend on you. So you hone that skill while doing other things, i.e. what I'm doing.
Right. And then, you know, you keep going forward and eventually you're going to get, you know, and then like Laura said, just a caveat off of that with the one we had Bob Wingo as a guest, where look up Bob Wingo's resume, WINGO, if you ever get a chance.
Oh, Bob.
He's a Vietnam veteran, black guy, right? You know, coming back from Vietnam, and he has been tremendously successful, wounded warrior.
I love that guy, man.
And what he talks about, what he said to me, the very first thing he ever said to me was like, I've never cared about money. Mm-hmm. He's like, and I got a lot of it. And he's like,
Brian,
the reason I have a lot of it is because I've always surrounded myself with good people.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Brian,
cared about.
Nick, Brian, one more time. And Brian, thanks for being vulnerable on the chat. It's partially due to childhood condition, depression, and my inability to find positive alternatives. And Brian, we could go into this again. I'm not saying depression is not real. Okay. God forbid people are going to fucking chop my head off. However, you're focusing on shit from the past. Like let that shit go.
Yeah.
You're protecting. Yeah. Projecting that shit from the past. And it's controlling your fucking destiny and your
benevolence,
future, you know? So anyway, we could talk about this shit for hours. But Brian, hey, I'm happy you're working on it, Brian. You'll get through this shit and you'll make it work. You know?
Yeah, Brian, thanks for being on the chat thread like that. Yeah, that's awesome. But all right, Laura, have the last word and then Dave can close us out.
I don't know. What do I say for the last word?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
No,
you were sorry for being an MP, and
you apologize.
I will never apologize for it because I am a better human being because of it. Here's my last word. I am here today because of a promise I made myself on the streets of Baghdad, and I believe that Buddy, who's the guy that's not here right now?
Buddy Beckwith, Weak Jeans, yeah, our Green Beret guy.
Right. Yeah. Last week he made a comment about how life is fleeting, or maybe Joe, that was you, but somebody said something about life is fleeting, and that is. I gave myself a promise on the streets of Baghdad that I would never do anything I didn't love because life is too short. And I feel like we never know what's going to happen. So surround yourself with the right people, just make the most out of everything you can. Do a job that you love, because life is too short. Don't get sucked in a trap, and everything's going to work out. Like, it's just, if you make the most of every decision you make, it's going to be a great decision.
Love it. Hey, this was a great episode. I think we need to have you on again. I think maybe like an interview or whatever, where we deep dive more into leadership and everything. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Show.
Yeah.
Sure.
There you go, Len.
Sure.
There you go.
I got Nick's buddy.
George.
Oh, George, what up, buddy?
Yeah.
So really appreciate you sharing everything, sharing the stuff that occurred in Iraq and everything, and just bringing it all to light. And then obviously what you do right now, you're obviously on fire, you're making a change daily, making stuff happen with your work and everything that you do. So we really appreciate you, Laura. For everybody that just tuned in, go to shop.veterantrashtalk.com or go to VeteranTrashTalk.com. That has all the links to our podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. Go to gruntworksclothing.com. We got awesome tees. Okay. I'm wearing, I don't even know what this is. Something gunslinger or something. I don't know.
Oh, but I want
Nick's, yeah. Nick and Len are wearing the same shirt, the VTT originals. Okay. I don't know what Joe's wearing. I think he's wearing a hoodie.
I got the same. I'm twinning with Len and Nick underneath this hoodie.
That's good.
Oh, a triplet.
Remember, part of our proceeds benefit
That's
the
right.
organization Stop Soldier Suicide. We're also in the fight with a bunch of other nonprofits. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And one more thing, Brian Kelly says, I appreciate you all. And Monica said she just bought your book. So buy Laura's book, support her mission, support everything that she does. And y'all have a happy Saturday. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out. Boom.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a
You
pleasure.
can stay on, Laura. You're good.